I'm Richard Porter.
I'm Jonny Smith.
And this is On the Other Side of Things, the Smith & Sniff spin-off in which we answer your questions.
Hello. Hi. Hey. Guys.
Hi. Hey. It's another Otosot for a Friday. We're answering your questions. I might start with this one from a listener called Sebastian, who's in Denmark.
Ah.
And I can't remember the last time we had a listener email in from Denmark, but he starts with a test. It's a Danish two-word phrase, I think. I've never got lines through the O's.
I'm looking at it right now.
Hello's it's not going to be Danish, is it? Hello. I can't float. I'm so sorry, Sebastian. But in a way, this is your fault.
It'll be a breathy thing.
He said, good luck translating that one. I assume it means you flutes or something, but we'll come back to that.
Hello. Hello, could flustered, yeah. Good luck. Listen, so Sebastian.
It's good breathiness.
It's really lovely to hear from our Danish friends. Gosh, I love Denmark.
Now, Sebastian's been a bit greedy because he's actually asked 3 questions.
Okay.
So I'm going to...
we could do them all quick.
All right, go on then. Let's run.
He's travelled a long way to deliver this letter to us.
Yes, all across the North Sea, that electric message has come. So he says, you recently discussed how to inform fellow drivers using hand signals. Well, how do I hand signal get an alignment twat to another driver? As a person with severe mechanical sympathy, it frustrates me more than it should when I see a car going down the road sideways.
Wow, sideways.
The second question is, you recently talked about cars you wouldn't mind seeing bang erased, current cars, that is. Got me thinking, is there a car on the market today which you would like to preserve? Because you'd like to buy it in 10 to 15 years' time. Besides the supercars, I don't see many current cars which enthusiasts will lust for in the future. And thirdly, can we get a long-term review on your Tesla Model Y, Richard? If you were to trade it in now, what would you get instead? So from the top...
once, twice,
alignment.
3 times a good question.
The thing about alignment is that if you, I know what Sebastian means. I don't feel see it an awful lot. You do. I quite like following an old Saxo because I think they have a natural crab stance because of their suspension.
Yes, I think what it is these days modern suspension is. It probably hides the fact, and the width of tyres as well. It hides a car that's woefully out of alignment until you realise that in 300 miles you can go from a box fresh tyre to a canvas, which I have had before on certain vehicles. We actually had the alignment done on the Eagle Quest not that long ago. So I think it had maybe knocked into a curb or something. Not when we were owning it, prior owner, and just was towing out a little. But I thought about this question. I think I've got an answer. Because hand signals don't work, and you can't mouth things because it will always look aggressive for a start, and you won't really get your information across.
Yeah.
So, do you remember, I think it was Ghostbusters 2, when they'd upgraded the Ecto 1 to have more equipment on it, and they had a big scrolling screen on the side of the roof rack, which said, "We're back." And, and back in the 80s, or I think it was 89 that film came out, scrolling LED screens were so expensive and advanced, and I realised the other day that you can buy quite a small scrolling screen with a cigarette lighter attachment for something like 12 quid. And I thought you can program it in, so you could just have that in the back window. If someone is like driving in the middle lane, for example, and it's making everybody annoyed, you could just pull in front of them and just go, get out of the middle lane, or move over, or so you could just type in, your car's broken.
The problem I foresee with Sebastian's aspiration here is that if somebody's car is so wildly out of alignment that you can see it, they're probably the kind of person who doesn't know what alignment is. So no signal or written message is really going to hit the spot. you probably need some kind of laminated leaflet that you can leave behind their wipers that explains in detail what they need to have done. But otherwise, I feel like that may just be a hiding to nothing. And, well, you just got to leave them to it. His next question was cars you'd like to preserve to be sort of in good nick in 10 to 15 years' time. I have a feeling I know what you're going to say.
What am I going to say?
Honda E.
Well, that was one of them, actually. The first two that sprang to mind, and there's probably going to be a few more as you talk or as we answer other questions. The Honda E is just so good, and I drove it again the other week on a late break show video to remind myself of what it was like. But and it was just so thrilling and beautifully put together, and Honda obsession at its best, albeit with flaws. And the other car is a Alfa Giulia Quadrifoglio.
Ah, yes.
Because it's just, I can't stop admiring them when I see them. They're just so damn handsome, and they sit just right. They sound good. They feel exotic. And I feel like in a decade's time, if I haven't bought one, I'll be pissed right off. And I'd like to just drive one around with a sticker in the back, or maybe a scrolling LED screen saying, BMW M3 drivers, here's what you could have bought.
I mean, I would say yes, and I'd also, I'd like chuck in the Alpine A110, but I sort of feel that's the kind of car that, will naturally second, third car, so they're not overstressed. People look after them. People who care about cars have them. Yeah. So they'll be relatively plenty around, as in the attrition rate will be low. So we probably don't need to worry about those. I don't know what else. I mean, cars sort of last longer generally, don't they? In ways
different ways.
Bodily, they do anyway, for the most part.
Yes, bodily they do, and interiors and stuff like that. I would have thought. It's a strange one.
Yeah, I don't know. It's also. Stuff, it's perverse, but stuff becomes appealing when it's suddenly not around.
Yeah.
The delight of Festival of the Unexceptional is seeing something like a Daihatsu Applause. Now, if there were sort of 3 parked on your street because it was still on sale in the 90s, you wouldn't give a toss about it. But when it looks like you've seen the only surviving one in captivity, it suddenly takes on this sort of strange appeal, which I often question myself about. Do you really? Would you want it? Would you want that car? And you go, no. But I'm glad that somebody else has it. It's sort of like you need to keep one of everything. Yeah. Not necessarily any more than that. So it's hard to say. In 10 to 15 years' time, stuff that's around loads at the moment, suddenly I feel like all the Mark 1 Igos will start to disappear. I mean, they seem to be pretty hardy cars.
Yeah, but they're popular first cars, aren't they? So
popular first cars. Yeah. They do rot.
They do.
And they will become so worthless that it's not worth getting them repaired if they do have some kind of engine fault. Yeah. And they'll just suddenly go. The way that, old Minis were sort of all over the place, and they stopped making them, and then suddenly it's like they become a car show thing only.
It's weird, isn't it? Minis were so common, and I tried to explain this to the kids because an old one went by the other day, and they went, "Oh, it's an old Mini." It was like a red one. And I said, when I was at school and college, they were like 1 in 10 cars was probably an Austin Mini or a Rover Mini.
Yeah. And they were just street furniture.
Yeah, they really were. They were in the UK anyway. Probably not in Denmark, but maybe they were. I don't know. I wouldn't want to go through a Danish winter with an A-series engine and heating system, but that's just me. I'll think of some other cars, but I think that Up GTI, the car that you and I both regret not buying new.
That's a good one. Finally, just really quickly, long-term review on my Tesla Y. It's surprisingly good, like better than I probably expected. It's a functional car, to Sebastian's other point about are there any things that the enthusiasts would want to lust for? No, not that. But for what we need from it, which is a spacious, cheap to run, reliable, supposedly quite safe, well-equipped family car, it's hitting the spot, and it's not perfect, far from it, whether to drive. Actually, in so many other ways, it is sort of as good as modern cars get. It's very unannoying. Yeah. There's nothing that pisses me off about it, whereas I borrow other modern cars and get annoyed with various badly thought through functions, particularly where tech is concerned and touchscreens. And although I would prefer some hard buttons in the Tesla, I do think that their implementation of the touchscreen is about as good as it gets in general. So no, it is. I'm happier than I thought I would be with that car. I just wish that the man who runs the company wasn't such a massive prick. And that being so, it does give me severe thought to not get another one. It's on a lease and it goes back. I've got a year and a bit still with it. And
yeah, you could get a Renault Fluence, I was thinking, to replace it with.
I've already started thinking about it because, we're car people and this is what we do. And I was like, what do I get? I would stay electric. We've been very happy with that. But I have been reminded the other thing about the Tesla, not to sound like a bloody ad, is that that supercharging network is just second to none. There is no public charging network that is as good and as fuss-free, in my experience, of the last almost 2 years with our family car. And having recently, I was going somewhere long distance-ish in something else electric, and it was all right, but public chargers are still a bit of a crapshoot in a number of ways, and I have never had a sort of failed charger or anything like a sort of journey delaying experience on a Tesla charger. So it's going to be a hard one to think what to replace it with. And I know you can now charge other EVs on Tesla chargers. That might be the answer. But,
you must do that. But
yeah, it's really annoying as well that the owner of the company is an absolute arsehole, because the updated Model Y seems to have addressed a couple of my criticisms of it, which is the steering is too quick and the ride is too hard. And apparently they've addressed both of those annoyingly. So we'll see. I don't know. Hopefully he gets ousted before I need to think about what I need as a family car, because all other things being equal, I think I would have another one. It is a functional tool. It's not sexy or exciting particularly, but sometimes you don't need that. You just need a car that does the job, and it does that.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing an update on my Model S soon, my £5,000 Model S, because people love a bit of Bangonomics, Richard. They do.
Yeah. By the way, Sebastian's opening was "Hello, meat flutes" in Danish. In case
it's meat.
I don't. Okay. Yes, a code fluter is meat flute, apparently. So you learn something new.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to do a question from Jackson Knowles. Jackson, hi. It says, now then, chaps, hope you've had a good week. That's just a decidedly sensible, polite,
isn't it?
Really nice way to start the conversation.
Quite taken aback by that. How
yeah,
I
am. Jackson, that's lovely. He's put, after the big toe on my left foot recently decided to perform toe seppuku, also known as an ingrown toenail, I decided to book an appointment with a podiatrist. Long story short, I could only email to book the appointment, and whilst writing out my boo-boo, I referred to my left-hand big toe as my near-side big toe. Luckily, I love that. It's like, luckily, I spotted and amended it before pressing send. My question to you guys is, have you ever used car terms when referring to normal everyday stuff to a layman? Cheers for the past, present and future entertainment across your platforms is sayonara, Jackson. I do it a lot. I probably do it on a weekly basis, which makes me either very shallow or obsessed or whatever. But I do it, yeah. My brother regularly refers to people who, are slightly pigeon-toed.
Yeah.
He regularly refers to that woman over there whose tracking is out.
Yes. And
referring to because there's a bit of toe in going on the left one. He'll regularly do that, and it always makes me giggle a bit. I've got loads. I'm just trying to think of the type that I do.
I mean, like I think you and I, when we talk to each other, we're forever doing it because we know it'll be understood. Just using words like kick down when you just mean that your voice went up a bit or something. But it's when you, I suppose, like Jackson, when they slip out into the real world. I think I've sort of said, I've used make and model to refer to both dogs and babies, possibly with people who didn't quite appreciate the reference, even if they understood it. So we go, oh yeah, I've just had a baby. Oh really? What make and model? And what I mean is, is it a boy or a girl, and how heavy was it, and all that sort of stuff. But it's just, it's a car-y shorthand.
I've definitely done that before, definitely. And I've gone to or booked an appointment with the doctors, and just said, I'm going in for it's a big service, like a
Yes.
big one, probably, cam belt and brake fluid. The ones you don't do as much.
I've referred to going for an annual checkup at the dentist as an MOT, and then I have almost used that when trying to book one for my children standing at the reception desk in the dentist, because in my head I was going, just my MOT. I better make sure the kids get their MOT. And that would have been, I think that would have been one of those where they'd have gone, I'm sorry, what? And you'd have felt like a bit of a
That's great.
sleeve.
Do you get advisory slips? You get a failure sheet or a advisory?
You do, don't you, sometimes?
Yeah.
That's the thing. I feel like my old dentist was much more of one of those stern MOT testers that goes, one of your headlights is just a tiny bit milky, whereas this new guy, he's just one of those ones. He's almost, I'm not saying he's one of those MOT testers who suspiciously issues a certificate before they've looked at the car, but he definitely just goes, yeah, you're good. Nice one. It never gives me any advisories on my teeth, which I find surprising because I have terrible teeth.
I've just thought of another one that I do. I refer to my ability to think about long-term plans as the inability to kind of have full beam on. So I always describe myself as I'm a bit of a dipped beam guy. I look at what's directly in front of me, no more than, say, a week, perhaps 2 weeks. Whereas I need to be more full beam thinking, apparently, if I'm running my own business, because I've got to think about, what are you doing in 6 months? And what's going to be the scale of the operation in a year? And I've got to focus on being more full beam. Or adaptive headlights, auto dipping, I guess.
I got one from TV's Tiffany Dell that I use quite a bit, but it's not cars, it's a boating term. He always said that he liked to know that he had sort of 2 months worth of work ahead of him as a freelancer.
Oh, yeah.
As long as he had that 2 months, he didn't sort of think too far beyond that, but he called it his bow wave. I suppose it's an off-roading term as well, isn't it? So actually that does still check out. But he'd always go, I've got to have my bow wave. And I've used that.
Because he's from a boat racing background, isn't he? That's where he started.
Yes, hence the orange helmet, I think. Isn't that the story? That's a boaty thing.
Yeah,
so
it is a boaty thing.
Found if you fall out or whatever happens in boats.
If you get ragdolled out of a powerboat doing 95 miles an hour,
yes.
That's what it is. Yeah.
As happened to a chap that I know who used to be the PR man at TVR.
Yeah.
And one day, this eccentric customer, I think, wanted one of TVR's V8s fitted to a powerboat.
Oh, gosh.
I don't know if it was a racing one. I don't think it was. I think it had some kind of open deck. So they did this. It must have been some valued customer or mate of Peter Wheels or something. So they did this, and because they're based in Blackpool, basically it was finished one day, and a bunch of people at the factory just went, well, the sea's over there. Should we go and try it out? And so
no.
And this guy James, who's with the PR at the time, went, I'll come. And so a load of them just piled onto the back of this boat. They got it in the water. They piled in, and then off they set. And whoever was driving it's just absolutely pinned it open, to make sure it's okay. But then out in the cruel and very grey and cold Irish Sea, whacked it into a turn. James was sitting on the side about to light a cigarette, and he just went overboard.
Oh, shit.
And he went overboard, and he said he popped up in the very, very cold sea. He realised, first of all, he'd still got a very damp cigarette in his mouth. So he got rid of that. And then he looked, and he's like, I'm not sure anyone spotted me going over there. And the boat is like a speck heading somewhere towards Ireland. And he's a bit like, and he looks and they can see the coast of Blackpool is worryingly far away. And he's a bit like, I think I'm a goner here. And thankfully, they realised what had happened. And then they're coming back, and he's like, oh no, now they're going to run me over. I really am a goner, because it is very hard to see a person in the water from a boat, and hence the orange helmet is a safety thing.
I'd be more fearful of that. I'd be more fearful of getting run over by somebody than falling out of somewhere and just having to fend for myself.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was okay.
Yeah.
They realised and they didn't run him over and they picked him up. It was all okay. But
oh, that's
scary.
good. That's good.
Can I do a quick question from a listener called Vince? He says, I was idly looking... Actually, no, I'll do the rude intro. Why not? He says, "Hi, you sweet, sweet semi-automatic sequential shifters." So not a rude intro.
Oh, that's
some nice ones.
No, that's not crude. I like it. Yeah.
He says, "I was idly looking at a Kia EV9 in the supermarket the other day and couldn't help noticing the alloys looked remarkably similar to the blades in the bottom of a blender. My question is, what other car wheels / design features bear an uncanny resemblance to something else?" And my attention was drawn to this question because the answer for me popped straight into my head, which is from years ago. Do you remember the Lancia Thema?
Yes.
Just about. I think it's when they facelifted it, they gave it a set of alloys. I think they also used to put on the Dedra. And they looked to me exactly like the design of the big reel-to-reel tapes that they put on old-fashioned tape machines.
Oh, I know the things you mean. Yeah.
And that was it. And I just went, oh, well, they've obviously just copied reel-to-reel tapes. So probably one, was doing computer data at the Lancia R&D Centre. And they went, that's a good idea. We'll do that. But yeah, those wheels, I just couldn't. I mean, they're quite attractive wheels. Yeah, they are reel-to-reel tape wheels.
I think flatter alloys are coming back.
Yeah, I think so.
I know the EV Aero thing is already in full swing, but I think people have forgotten how to do cool deep dish wheels, so they've just gone, let's just do some flat stuff.
Speaking of which, actually, the other one that always looks to me like an old sort of tape reel of a different design are those famous 3-slot Alpine wheels.
Oh, they're great. They do look like the bottom. They're the carrot grating part of the Magimix, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's Peter Stevens was involved in designing those. In fact, may have been entirely responsible. Yeah, it was a sort of early job. And he told me that the reason those very smooth but 3-slot Alpine wheels came about was because of the rally cars, because when the wheels were more spokey and interesting, on snow rallies like the Monte Carlo, snow and ice would get packed into the slots and things on the wheels of more intricate designs. And it would get so heavy it could break the suspension or damage it. And so they wanted a smooth wheel that snow and ice wouldn't stick to. But obviously they didn't want it to look totally flat and smooth. So, Peter came up with a smooth design. Then I think he put 4 slots in it and it didn't look right. So he did 3 and it just looked great. And that was it. That became that design. I think it was all done for a very practical reason, and not copied off reel-to-reel tape machines.
That's very, very cool. So, thanks for that, Vince. I've got a question. Well, I haven't. A chap called Simon has. Guys, look. I work as a window cleaner in an affluent part of the world, surrounded by people wearing flamboyant coloured trousers. whilst working away on one of the many fancy heises in my very black trousers, I will often hear a V8 burst into life. Filled with excitement, I'll head around the front of the house to see, is it an Aston Martin? Maybe it's a McLaren, possibly one of those brave souls that has a quattroporte. But no, it's always one of those purple-trousered pricks in a G63 or a Range Rover. Don't shoot the messenger, please. So my question for you, gents, is, which car's startup made you think it was going to be a riot, but it was actually more beige than a British Leyland paint chart? CMTMB, Simon. That's a really good question. That is a really good question.
I don't know about startup, but I know that for drive-by excitement, that it's not an unexciting car, but those are Bath 500s, particularly later ones. they do gargle. Some very gargly. They're very gargly, oily exhaust notes on some of them, and it can lead you to go, "What's that?" And then you go, "Oh, it's just a little Fiat 500 on steroids." But the other one for me is a little closer to what Simon's experienced. Is certain early models of Porsche Cayenne, the V8 ones.
Oh yeah,
have a real sort of almost muscle car-y, bassy rumble to them.
Yeah.
And then you turn around to see what's driving by, and you go, oh, it's just a bloody Cayenne. You're sort of hoping it was something a bit more interesting.
It's a letdown. The excitement's immediately washed away.
It's usually SUVs, isn't it? That you just go, no.
It's funny because I wrote a column for the Intercooler just recently about something similar to this, about the first time I ever went to America, which I was in my early 20s. And I pretty much didn't get any sleep the first night I was in my hotel because I slept with the window open. And I could hear V8 after V8 after V8 after V8, some of them coming into the hotel car park and turning around. And I just kept jumping up going, oh, I wonder what it is, thinking it's going to be a Pontiac GTO Judge. But it was actually a UPS van.
Yes.
Or, some kidnappy Chevy Astro. And you're like, hang on, they've all got petrol V8s. What the hell's going on? And even a really ghetto-looking pickup truck had a fantastic exhaust notes. You're like, oh, bloody hell. You almost get oversaturated with it.
Yeah.
But I remember that was my first impression of the States, just that all cars sounded cool, pretty much.
Yes. Even like airport shuttle buses and things, and you're going, oh, wow, it must be a GT. No, it's not. It's just that. Yeah, America is, in fact, the land where... But I suppose for Americans it's not, because the V8 is just... That's the sound of a street, isn't it? Or certainly if you're an older generation,
yeah.
Probably less so now. But yeah, if you're our age or older, that sort of wet, lumpy idle at traffic lights is, in fact, just the sound of a car.
So good.
Certainly of your childhood. So just one more quick question from a listener called Rob, who says, hi, you pair of chorizo oboes.
Hi, I'm Chorizo Obo.
Rob says, I currently have a not-so-bargain 986 Boxster. Long story, but I spent the same I paid for it on repairs in the first 18 months of ownership. And an E208 for commuting to work, while the Boxster is inevitably off the road being fixed. When I got the E208...
That's a nice two-car garage, that. I like that.
Yeah. Rob says, when I got the E208, I wasn't able to find much of a saving down the multi-car insurance route, but is that just because I only have two cars? How do you both insure your vast and growing fleets of cars? For Jonny, I'm assuming it's a business policy. However, does Richard have a rotation plan so only a few are insured at any one time? CMTMB. Rob,
that's a good... My answer is actually quite boring because people ask me this a lot. Now, nobody's sponsoring us from an insurer's point of view, but we obviously choose who we want to insure with. But I haven't yet found anyone that can do a group insurance on my modern and classic cars, but the cars have an agreed value. Because I will not insure classic cars without an agreed value, because I just disagree with it. I want my car to be valued as my car, not the other guy who has a similar car. That's not mine. I don't care about theirs. And so I ultimately insure every single one of my cars with a separate policy. So I get, in January, 13 renewal letters through the post.
Oh, God.
It's one of my least favourite times of the year because it's very paperwork heavy, but it's also just after Christmas. So, yeah, I insure them like that. And my brother thinks I'm a complete meat whistle. So there we go.
I'm afraid I don't have any particular trick. In some ways, my situation is both better and worse than Jonny's. Better in that mine don't all arrive at once just after Christmas, but worse in that they're scattered across the year, and I have to try and keep on top of that and remember when the letters come through or whatever, or the emails. And of course, then you got, road tax and all that blah as well. But no, the only thing I've done is that because my Beat can be considered a classic, that is on a classic policy. But classic insurance is a new one for me and an eye-opener because it's a lot less expensive than other car insurances. It's
oh my gosh, tell me about it.
Which
my Boxster's hardly any money.
Is it not
amazing? There's hardly any.
What, is that considered a classic then?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is because it's over 20.
The funny thing is that one of the things they told me is because I'm getting some storage, so will that help that the cars will be locked away? And And they went, well, they'll be locked away all the time. And I was like, well, no, because if I take them home, they'll just be on my driveway at home. And they went, well, we have to insure based on that.
Really?
Yeah. So, which is fine. It was still extremely reasonable. I couldn't complain. I don't think it would have made that much difference. But then, and then the other cars, I don't know why my Defender, I should probably think about that. That's just like with Direct Line or someone. It's nothing special. And then, family cars with somebody I can't even remember. Well, so no, there is no secret. Sorry. I wish we could sort of give some trick of the trade here, but...
Well, maybe we do have friends in the insurance world. I would personally love to be able to insure all my cars under one big umbrella, and each one has an absolute rock solid agreed value that they know is correct. Then I'll sleep better at night on that side of things. But it's good question, and I know everyone's got their own little methods, haven't they? But well, maybe. Classic car insurance is just so cheap. I love it.
If people have found any sort of brilliant solutions to this or ways that just make your life easier, then do get in touch. hello@smithandsniff.com. And the same goes if you have a question for us. That's the same email address. Just put Otosot in the subject line if it's a question. Helps us to find it. We'll be back next Friday answering some more. Until then, goodbye.
Bye, guys.